Okay, let's get into this. I want you to picture something for a moment. The date is Sunday, January 25th, 2026.
Very specific.
Very specific. You're standing in a plant nursery. It's probably a little gray, a bit humid, typical for that time of year in that part of the world. And you're looking at a small pot with some little yellow flowers in it.
Right. A totally normal, everyday scenario, a weekend errand.
Exactly. And for almost all of us, the thought process there is, what, 10 seconds long? It's something like, oh, that's pretty. How much is it? Am I going to kill it?
And then you either buy it or you don't. It's an impulse decision, really. You're not analyzing the system architecture of the plant.
But today, we're diving into the mind of someone who absolutely does.
Ah.
We're looking at a source, a blog post from qianmeng.org by a man named Ang, and he calls himself an old software plumber.
And that title, Old Software Plumber, that tells you almost everything you need to know. It's the whole framework. We're not just getting gardening tips here. We are analyzing how a tinkerer's mind processes the world.
It's honestly amazing. This is someone who's deep in the world of code, things like FLAS, which we can get into. But he takes that exact same version-controlled debugging mindset and applies it to his garden and his fish tank and his diet.
Well, the first thing that just jumps off the page is the sheer volume. This particular blog post about the flower, it's titled Notes on Gardening, Part 787.
Part 787. That number is just, it's staggering. I mean, I can barely keep a journal for like 3 days. This guy has logged almost 800 separate thoughts just about gardening.
And that's just one project, just one category of his life. He really treats his entire life like a series of open source projects. You don't just live it. You have to document it, debug it, and then, well, optimize it.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. How does a person who writes technical notes on, I don't know, Haskell and Rust, how does that person approach buying a simple yellow flower for the Lunar New Year? Because the reason he didn't buy it is almost more interesting than why he wanted it in the first place.
Oh, it's a classic case of system architecture applied to botany. It's all about dependencies and long-term maintenance.
Okay, so let's get into it. It's late January 2026. Ang, our old software plumber, is out and about, but the plant center wasn't even his first stop, was it?
No, not at all. And that's the first little clue about how his mind works. He was actually out to take pictures. He's a photographer, too.
Of course he is.
Right. But he notes that he couldn't find parking where he wanted to go.
Which is so relatable. My usual response to not finding parking is to just give up and go home and be angry about it.
Exactly. But for him, it's like a runtime error. The program can't execute the intended path. So you don't just crash the system. You catch the exception and you reroute.
He pivoted. Parking not found. Okay, execute subroutine, visit plant nursery.
Precisely. And he goes there to scout for the Lunar New Year. And he adds this bit of context. He notes that the Lunar New Year is late in 2026, mid-February. So the markets are quiet. He's constantly monitoring the state of his environment.
He's running a diagnostic. Current market activity, low. And in this quiet market, he finds it. A plant called the Dahlberg Daisy. But he doesn't just call it that, of course. He uses the scientific name, Thymophylla tenuiloba.
Which is a very deliberate choice. It anchors the whole observation in, a factual reality.
He describes it really nicely, though. It's not all technical. He says it has cheerful, bright yellow flowers and delicate fern-like leaves. It looks like a happy little plant. But then he finds the hidden feature.
The Easter egg.
Yes. He writes that when you crush the leaves, the foliage gives off this pleasant citrus, like a lemon aroma. And I'm thinking, a flower that smells like fruit? I'm sold. I'll take 3.
But he didn't.
He didn't. And this is where it gets so interesting. He loves the look, loves the smell, and he walks away. And the reason is just one word in the plant's description. It's an annual.
And if you're thinking like a programmer, the annual versus perennial debate is huge. It's about long-term maintenance versus a short-term dependency.
Okay, break that down for me. I know what annual means, but why does that one word stop a software plumber in his tracks?
Well, an annual plant does its entire life cycle in one season. You plant it, it blooms, it makes seeds, and then it's dead. You have to start over next year. A perennial, though, that comes back, it persists.
So an annual is like a one-time script. It runs, and then it's done.
Think of it like a subscription service. You have to pay the fee every single year to keep using the feature. A perennial is more like buying a lifetime license for a piece of software. You install it once, and it just keeps working.
I get it. And Ang doesn't want to be renting his garden features.
It's an expiring dependency. It's temporary code. And he even says in the post he was thinking about it for seed collection.
Seed collection. So he's not just decorating. He wants a system that can sustain itself. A loop.
That's it, exactly. He wants to be able to extract the source code, the seeds, and recompile the plant himself next year. If it's an annual, the return on his investment of time and effort is just lower. He wants a permanent library he can import into his garden, not a temporary patch.
That is just... It's such a fascinating way to look at a flower. He isn't shopping, he's doing architecture planning. But he doesn't completely dismiss it, does he?
No, that citrus aroma was such a compelling feature that he's basically, filed a ticket in his brain. It's a feature request, status, pending further investigation.
So the daisy is left behind. For now. But to really get why this matters, you have to look at the sidebar on his blog. I mean, the database of his life. I was scrolling through the projects list, and it's dizzying.
It is an absolutely incredible list. It's the ultimate learner personality on display.
Just to give a sense of the scale, we have Notes on Gardening, part 787.
Okay.
But right there with it, notes on Haskell programming, notes on Python, notes on Rust, notes on Go.
And we should be clear, Haskell and Rust are not. They're not beginner languages. They are known for being incredibly rigorous, very mathematical. You can't be sloppy with them.
Okay, so high-level logic. But then there's the other list. Notes on fish keeping, notes on dieting, notes on meditation, notes on home improvement, notes on guitar.
Don't forget notes on typesetting.
Notes on typesetting. I mean, who has notes on typesetting?
Someone who cares about the details of how information is presented. But the key thing is, he doesn't separate work skills from life hobbies. To an old software plumber, a fish tank is just another complex system. He has posts titled The Blackbeard Algae or Deciding Duckweed.
Deciding Duckweed sounds like a political thriller.
Sure.
This summer, the council is deciding duckweed.
It really does, but he's treating an algae outbreak in his aquarium the same way he'd treat a bug in his code. He identifies the issue, he researches it, he applies a fix, and he documents the result in the changelog, which is his blog. It's a life OS.
It is. And he does this every day. The archives on the site go back to 2011. In January 2026 alone, the sidebar says, 75 posts. That's more than 2 a day.
It's a mind that's always processing, always capturing, and this ties back to the footer on his site, He links to the EFF, the Free Software Foundation, Wikipedia.
The holy trinity of the open internet.
Right. It's the philosophy of floss, free libre, and open source software. The idea that knowledge should be transparent, it should be shared. He's basically open sourcing his entire life, a compile error in Rust, or the fact that a daisy smells like lemons. He thinks that's a data point worth sharing.
It's actually kind of beautiful. It's like saying, hey, I learned this tiny thing and maybe it'll save someone else 5 minutes. It's the total opposite of gatekeeping.
And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much collective knowledge do we all just lose because we don't write it down?
Oh, totally. I assume I'll remember the name of a restaurant or how I fixed something, and a month later it's just gone. Poof.
He loses nothing. It's all there, tagged and searchable.
So let's zoom back in on that week, that specific week in January 2026. The mix of topics is just wild. We have the daisy on the 25th. But what else was he writing about?
Well, there's a post titled Deep Dive into Lei Cha, which is part 114 of his Notes on Dieting.
Right, that's the Hakka tea-based soup.
Right.
Super healthy, lots of herbs.
Correct. So on one hand, he's optimizing his body's fuel, debugging his diet. Then you see a post, Notes on Haskell Programming, part 40, writing output to standard output.
Okay, so optimizing his code's input and output.
And then Notes on Photography, part 226, The Timeless Appeal. So optimizing his aesthetic sense.
It's like on Monday, he's a dietitian. On Tuesday, he's a systems engineer. On Wednesday, he's an art critic. And on Sunday, he's a botanist sniffing lemon leaves.
And he doesn't see a conflict between any of them. That's the whole point. He understands that the skills are transferable. The same observational skill you need to debug code is what allows you to notice that the Lunar New Year markets are quiet. It's all just monitoring the state of the system.
I love that phrase, monitoring the state of the system. It makes a failed parking attempt sound so much more profound. It wasn't a failure, it was just a data point that redirected the program.
And that redirection led to a discovery, which brings us right back to the Dahlberg Daisy.
Right. He didn't buy the plant, but he seems totally satisfied just having found it.
He literally wrote, that trait alone is enough to make me want to explore the species further. The trait, of course, being the lemon scent.
It's pure curiosity. He didn't need to own the thing to appreciate the information it gave him.
Exactly. And notice how he phrases it. Explore the species further. Not buy a pot of it. He wants to understand the object class. What are its properties? How does it function? The scent was the hook that made him want to read the documentation.
It's so scientific, but also not cold.
Mm.
He calls the flowers cheerful. He's not a robot. He sees the beauty. He just backs it up with a layer of technical rigor.
And that's why Old Software Plumber is the perfect title. A plumber understands the pipes behind the wall. Ang looks at a flower, and he sees the pipes. The root system, the life cycle, the seed generation, the system behind the pretty interface.
And he's so humble about it all. Calls them musings. Puts a disclaimer on the site. But what he's actually built is this massive, incredible repository of practical wisdom.
It is the deep dive in action every single day. For Ang, the Dahlberg Daisy is just another library he could choose to import. He checked the README file and it said annual. He checked the feature list, it said lemon scent. And he decided the features didn't fit his current build requirements, so he didn't merge the code.
But he kept the branch open for later.
He kept the branch open.
You know, it really makes me think about my own hobbies differently. I just kind of dabble. I cook. I try to keep a plan alive. I don't take notes. I don't have a version history for my spaghetti sauce.
But imagine if you did. Notes on spaghetti, part 45. A minor adjustment to the basil to oregano ratio.
I would definitely be a much better cook.
You would. That's the power of a feedback loop. Ang isn't just doing things, he is learning from every single iteration. That's how you get to 787 posts on gardening. You've learned 787 distinct lessons.
It's intimidating, but it's also really inspiring. The idea that no experience is wasted if you just write it down. Even the plant you don't buy teaches you something important about what you actually value.
In this case, sustainability over temporary beauty, and the value of a unique feature like that scent.
He's like a node in a network, a very, very productive node.
A very fragrant, lemon-scented node.
So, okay, what's the takeaway here for us? I mean, we're not all software plumbers,
Yeah.
but we all make these little decisions every day.
It's about being awake to the details. Ang noticed the scent because he was paying attention. He noticed the quiet markets because he was paying attention. And he noticed his own internal conflict, the annual problem, because he actually knows what his own criteria are.
It's about intentionality.
Yes. Living with intention and documenting the journey. The Dahlberg Daisy is, for now, unplanted. It's still on a shelf in a nursery in January 2026. But it has been logged. It's now part of his system.
And hey, who knows, maybe in Notes on Gardening, Part 850, he finally buys it. The story continues.
The debugging never stops.
So here's the thought for you listening. The next time you're out, buying a coffee, choosing a plant, even just trying to park your car, notice the details. Smell the leaves. Read the specs.
And maybe think about keeping your own log. It doesn't have to be a public blog, but there's real power in just writing down, I like this, I didn't like that, and here's why.
Be your own software plumber. Fix the leaks in your own life, one note at a time.
Which leaves us with a final thought to mull over. If you treated your hobbies, your routines, maybe even your relationships, with the same rigor and documentation that you apply to your professional work, like our software plumber does, what patterns would you start to see?
Wow. Would you realize you've been trying to fix the same bug in your diet for, like, the last 10 years?
Would you realize you've been importing the wrong libraries into your weekends?
That one hits hard. Importing the wrong libraries into your weekends. Doing things or seeing people that don't actually recharge you.
Exactly. If the code for your weekend is buggy, maybe it's time for a rewrite.
I'm going to be thinking about that for a while. That's a powerful idea.
It changes how you look at a Sunday afternoon, doesn't it?
It really does. Well, thank you all for listening to this deep dive into the mind of a tinkering gardener.
Always a pleasure to debug the system with you.
We'll see you in the next version update.